Hey guys, time for another lesson and one more guitar harmony related piece of nerdery before we go and explore some other stuff. I would love to tell you guys to go and check this out on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, but I can't because it's not yet released and it doesn't even have a name yet, but maybe look out for it and you'll come across it at some point. It serves to illustrate two different ways to voice some chords you're probably also familiar with already that make them sound a little more fresh, maybe just different. I don't know. I prefer them in some settings over, a lot of the other ways we know how to fret these chords. If I told you to play like a D major 7 chord, and if anyone told me to play a D major 7 chord, the first thing my mind goes to is, and I guess it's that way for a lot of you guys. Now that's not actually the most basic way to play a major 7 chord though, right? This would be, which is the closed position of a D major 7. You actually start at the root and start stacking thirds until all notes of the chord are in there. This is actually referred to as a drop 2 chord. Drop 2 chord means, thanks Latte for this way of visualizing this. I'm gonna steal this because it's brilliant, thank you. If this is your closed position major 7 chord, root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th, you start from the top down, take the second note, and drop it down the octave. That's so, like, the name drop 2 voicing is very suggestive. You can take it quite literal. This actually means, though, that now we're in the second inversion of the drop 2 chord because the 5 is in the bass now. So if we wanted to arrive at a root position drop 2 chord, we would have to use a different inversion to begin with, the second one in fact, right? Because if the 5 is in the bottom right here, 7, 3rd, not 3rd, I'm sorry, root, 3rd up here, 5, 7, root, 3rd. So now the second note from the top down is your root, and if you drop that an octave, now that gets you a root position drop 2 chord. That's all well and good. You might be familiar with that already. In that case, just ignore what I said and start now. You will probably also be familiar with the drop 3 voicing already, but there are two drop voicing that I want to touch on today that spread the notes even further, because check out what happens if I harmonize the line I just played for you guys in that part in drop 2 voicings and its associated inversions, right? Let me put on the right sound for that. What happened there? Well, it starts getting very wimpy towards the end because everything I'm playing is up real high and there's nothing down in like the proper meat and potato section of the guitar to kind of give it some foundation. And also it feels very jumpy, right? Because the melody is quite jumpy and the voices are really moving with the melody while I'm harmonizing this way. Now that's not problematic per se. If there were a keyboard player or like a second guitar player to fill in all that mid-range, you might be perfectly fine. But in our case, there's a bass player and that's it. And obviously if he doesn't want to abandon his post down there, he can't come up to fill all this space in the middle. So what I like to do in this instance is use these drop 2, 4 and another one we'll get to in a second, voicings, that are spread out even further so I can catch these high melody notes while still having some foundation below. it's still pretty high, but the difference is massive. I'll show you a comparison in a second. So the first one of these that we encounter while playing this thing is not this one. This is actually one of those complementary clusters I touched on yesterday. It's this one. And that's a drop 2/4 first inversion dominant 7 chord. So it has the third, flat 7, 5, and the root on top in that order. Drop 2/4, again, it literally means from our closed position chord, you literally take the second note, drop it down an octave, and then you take the fourth note and you drop it down an octave again. I'm not trying to make inappropriate gang signs, I'm just kind of trying to get the distance right, which I'm not, but whatever, you get the idea. Now, as opposed to a drop 2 or a drop 3 chord, this actually doesn't change the inversion because we are dropping the second note, but then we're also dropping the fourth note, again from the top down, which is the lowest, so the inversion is actually exactly the same as it would be with a closed position. There we go. Now, if I continue up, the next one we get to is a drop 2/4 minor 7 voicing, this time actually in root position. Now, something that's really cool about both the minor 7 and the major 7 chords as drop 2/4 voicings is that they have two perfect fifths in their interval structure, one from the root to the fifth and then one from the minor third to the minor 7th, which makes these sound really stable and really sweet, right? Not a lot of weird dissonances in there. Super cool. And then we go to the next one, which is actually wildly more adventurous. It's this one. That is an awesome chord. This is a drop 3, drop double 2 chord, which means we're dropping the second note by 2 octaves and the third one by 1 octave. And it's a second inversion, so we have a 5 in the bass. This is a major 7-second inversion, drop 3, drop double 2 chord. And as you can see, it covers a lot of ground. Like the distance from my lowest to my highest note in this voicing is 2 octaves plus a major third. So huge amount of ground covered right here. Fair warning, not all inversions and chord types are feasible on guitar as a drop 3, drop double 2 voicing. Some are impossible to fret, even if you have really, really large hands, which I kind of don't. These are sort of average. But the ones I can fret, I really like. First and foremost, this guy sounds super awesome, right? Then we go on. We know all this, so I'm gonna just skip over it. And then the last one is a major 7 root position drop 2/4 chord, which I'm gonna take it down here so you can see that better. Has that perfect fifth down here and that perfect fifth up here, this time between the major third and the major 7th. Another sonic side effect of using the drop 2/4 voicing with the major 7 chord in particular is that the increased distance between the root and the major 7 actually mitigates the tension between the two, because if you play them in the same octave, it has a lot more rub than this guy, so that again helps to make this chord sound really true and sweet. Yeah, guys, that's all I have to say about those. Drop 2/4, drop 3, drop double 2, and whatever the hell else you feel like dropping. Maybe tell me what else you can come up with and mess around with this stuff. Again, if you like this, share it with some people who you think might also like this, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next one.